Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Listen, I'm the last person to speak before you have drinks, right? Or maybe you already had a couple. Raise your hand if you already had a couple drinks in you. There you go. At least some honest people. One honest person. I smell booze on at least 4 people just walking into the room. So I know some of you aren't being honest with us. But anyways, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. It's a pleasure. I just want to say a couple of things. First, what a great job on this. This is very impressive to everybody. Great job on pulling this off. 10th year FMMA. Great work. So people have asked me if I was actually surprised about the award. Trust me, I was. Because, so Linnea, by the way, round of applause for you, Linnea. Just great job putting this all together. All right, I think I have no one else butts to kiss, so I think it's good enough. All right. But, Linnea knows a couple things. One, she knows I don't look at my agenda ever before I actually am literally about to go on, right? The morning I wake up, I then look at the agenda. She also knows that for me to download an app is not something I'm good at. I just can't. The functionality is too complex for me. So she also probably knew that I would not go on and actually see that the time she wanted me to be here was the time on the app where it said there'd be an award. I didn't notice that till I actually sat down. I was looking at the person next to me who was on the app, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I'm getting an award right now. And that's how I sort of figured it out. So I call my wife, and I tell my wife, I'm like, Kelly, I won this big award. It was pretty awesome. People were standing up. And she goes, oh, how much did you have to sponsor to get that? So, those that know me, she knows that I don't need more to inflate this ego of mine. So she always tries to bring you back down to earth, and she does a very good job at that. Because you have to remember, folks, at work, I'm the boss, right? I'm the CEO. So I walk around, I'm telling people, give me this, give me that, do this, do this. And then I go home and I'm like, yes, honey. Yes, honey. I like it that way. I enjoy the fact that when I go home, I don't have to make decisions. I just listen to her. It's just such an easy, women, don't you agree with me? Am I crazy? It's the right way to be. And it's worked out. We've been married 17 years and very happy. So, speaking of years, this past weekend, so I don't know if you guys saw the videos of me here at this conference, the first one. And I don't know if I forget that one. It was a Saturday. That was the first thing I would never forget. It was a Saturday conference. And with all due respect to Jay, there was definitely not 100 people. It was definitely less than that. Maybe there was 100, but not for my session. That's possibly it, right? But I was looking at what I looked like, and there was a reason for that because I turned 50 this past Saturday. So, and I was watching the, what's that show? Oh my God, not Price is Right, not Wheel of Fortune. What's the game? Family Feud. So I was watching Family Feud this morning while I was getting ready, and they had, at the end, they have the questions, right? And they go, what age does a man typically go through a midlife crisis? The number one answer was 50. So, I feel good, but obviously I'm still petrified and nervous. All right, so one thing I want to bring up is to show you what the first slide was at the first conference of FMMA when I spoke. This was the mission and the theme of the actual conference, okay? So if you could tell, it's been edited since that time, but you get the gist, right? And I'm going to tell you folks, when I first saw, the conference and what the mission statement was and what the theme was, this was a unique thing. Back in 2014, this was not the norm. It was not normal to have a mission within the self-funded industry where TPAs could attend, stop-loss carriers, brokers, to have hospitals, doctors, specialists, surgical groups. That just wasn't, they weren't together. It was definitely not part of it. Or the word free market. It was still a very much, focused on network. If anything, you were maybe looking at potential, carve-outs with certain specialties, but nothing like what we see today. Here's the interesting thing. On my overview slide, from 10 years back, I actually have new slides, I promise. But if you look at the overview slide from 10 years back, the key thing I want to focus on is how we literally had to talk back then of why self-funding is actually a good thing. Like, that was a big part of it, is trying to explain to people why you want to leave the carriers, why you might want to look beyond just Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna, et cetera, that there's other options out there. That was new. It was literally what people were talking about. And like, even on there, you look at ASO, TPA, just educating brokers on what the differences are, right? But the best one I like was the risk spectrum. This, to me, still resonates, except in a different way. Back then, we talked about how much risk are you willing to take? And I had a slide with the bar that went across, said, okay, you want no risk. You want no noise. Network plan, carrier-driven. Carrier has a stop-loss policy as well, versus this new thing back then, which was called reference-based pricing, which looked very different then than it does in many situations today. Unfortunately, what I've been seeing over the past 2 years in our industry is still a passion for change, a passion to do the right thing, what we see here. But there's no question in my mind, folks, that we have an industry right now that is so focused on being bought, being merged, acquisitions. I'm on the board of directors for SIA, which is the Self-Insured Institute of America, which is our biggest industry conference. Every carrier is there, stop-loss carrier, TPA, brokers, all the vendors from AI to pharmacy solutions. It's by far the biggest. Over 2,000 people typically go to the national conference. I would guess that 25% of the people that attended were private equity firms, banks. They all hire the same person. Harvard MBA grad, they give the kid a label of VP, and his job is to go out there and hunt. And what's happened because of that is all the visionaries that have been in our industry, so many of them, who were focused on doing everything possible to not look like a carrier, not look like an ASO, be independent, be a TPA, that's reversed. I'm not trying to give you guys bad news, but that's the reality. And again, I am not paid by Jay Kempton to say anything positive. Jay knows if I didn't like something, I'd tell him. But Kempton is a dinosaur. I mean, when I stand from a standpoint of, he's independent. There are very few true independent TPAs in this country left. And that is something that I believe in and I fight for and I stand up for. So I think a lot of credit has to be due to Jay, Kempton, and other TPAs that are still fighting the fight and realizing that you don't literally have to revert back. You talk about back to the future, folks. And why do I say this? The amount of pressure being put on these TPAs and these firms by these firms that acquire them to hit certain EBITDA numbers, to have certain profit margins in a very short period of time. What's the easiest way to do that? By giving more custom options to people, more transparency to folks, more quality direction? Or is it, let's go back to just being a basic network plan? It literally is a situation now in our industry where there is so much pressure for TPAs to literally go back and become ASO regular carriers. One solution, one option, one plan design. That's where the pressure's at, because that's where the biggest, quickest money-making buck is. I believe with people like Kempton, with this organization, and other TPAs that are truly independent, and the stop-loss carriers, but most importantly, folks, any broker that's in this room, you probably have more brokers, I believe, and again, I'm speaking as someone who's a representative, past chairman of SIA. Brokers, I believe, have more influence and power than they ever have in the 25 years I've run my organization, by far. You are smarter than you were 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I literally had to explain what real self-funding was to a broker. They know now. They know what options are out there, what vendors are out there, what AI technologies exist. They understand all that now. And I plead with the brokers in the room to push and push and push your groups to stay with those independent third-party administrators for as long as you possibly can, because that's really where innovation is. The innovation is there. It's not in those organizations that are trying to take 5 TPAs, make them one, put them under one name, and have them all treat all their customers, clients, and plans exactly the same. So let's turn that trend around and bring it back to more independent TPAs and more free market thinking going forward. Okay, so that's my little statement there. So 10 years ago, I definitely wasn't in these offices. So that's my company's headquarters in Massachusetts and Canton. On the right's in our office in Louisville, Kentucky. 10 years ago, we were in a much different place. However, the key relationships that I had 10 years ago, and as it relates to all the free market enterprise and the belief and thinking behind it, still is there today. If anything, it's grown even more. So here's what I try to explain to people all the time. How many people here watch a TED Talk? Just raise your hand. Who like TED Talks? I love them, okay? Especially the really short ones, all right? I'm not like my kids who are like this, on whatever app they're on. I could probably do 10 minutes, okay, of a good TED Talk. And one of the best ones I ever saw was a man up on stage said, what is the one thing that all successful companies share? And he stated, they all have a why they exist as an organization. I know why FMMA exists. You all know why they exist. They've done an amazing job expressing that over the past decade. But why does your company exist in the first place? What are you trying to do? And it took us a long time to literally come up with a very simple thing. What is it that we're trying to do at my company? Why did I start Phia at the age of 26? What was it about? And at the end of the day, it's very simple. We truly believe that every American deserves access to high quality, low cost care. And we're going to build products and services built around that to get to that potential goal. That's it. Because every American deserves it. And it works. It's good for recruiting. These young people today, folks, I'm sorry, but if you do any survey, we do a lot of surveying of our staff, we do a lot of surveying within the industry, and we call them future leaders. Do you know what the kids I call them kids. Well, I am old now, so I call them kids. But do you know what kids under 40 want? Anybody know? People under the age of 40, and there are a bunch of them here, okay? I always assumed it was money. Number one thing, money. My generation, that's all it was about. It didn't matter what job you had. All you wanted to do was make as much money as possible, as quickly as possible. Now, it's a lot different. These kids believe in social causes. They want to have something they believe in, they can stand behind, something that they're proud of. So even if they're only making, right? I think minimum wage in California is $20 an hour? Even if they're only making $20 an hour, $25 an hour, they're still proud of what they do, that they're making a difference. And that's what I try to instill in our organization every single day. And this is also what goes right back to what I just said. So if you look at this slide, what does it tell you? Every year, so-called experts like myself, brokers, administrators, reinsurance carriers, everyone out there, every consultant, what are the solutions been over the past decade? Or the past 20 years, 25 years? What have the solutions been? This is the solution. Every single year, your broker, your consultant comes into the HR department, meets with maybe the CFO, meets with the head of HR, and every year it's not a happy meeting. Every year you're walking in there telling them, great news, you got two options. Make your benefits package worse or shift the cost to your employees and their dependents. There's the proof. So all the stuff that you see out there, and here's another thing too, right? I have a booth out there. Folks, those booths, all those vendors, all the IT, all the brilliance in that room right across the hall means nothing if it's only shown to you. That information needs to be shown to the plans. That information needs to be shared with the employers. But most importantly, it has to be shared with the family members. I hate the word member. I hate the word dependent. These are people. They're not covered people. They're your family. My family is on my plan. Your family is on your plan. I'd be insulting you, sir, by saying, oh, your dependents? This isn't a tax, this is an IRS, right? It's your family. So I think that's the way we have to approach this, is how do you want to treat your employees and their families? Brokers, TPAs, whoever you may be. Is this the way we want to treat them? We supposedly know more than everyone else about what's going on in the industry. Yet what do we say? You know what? We think that the people, the members, the employees, let's put the money in their pocket because they'll know how to spend it better than us. Really? That's what we're going to do? Anybody in this room actually believe by just putting money in a member's pocket and let them make the decision that they're better at making those decisions than you are? You've been running your organizations for years, your consultancy practice for years, your brokerage for years. Yeah, let Susie, who's on the machine over there, give her the money so she has the power to make healthcare decisions without any guidance. That's the industry we're in. If you are an entrepreneur in this room and you can't see the money that can be made, but just by tackling that issue, don't be an entrepreneur anymore. Because that's the bottom line. This is the problem. So my goal is I still don't understand how employers who want to keep good employees don't make that gap smaller rather than bigger. It makes no sense to me. So my favorite thing is when I meet with the broker, I meet with the consultant, I meet with the plan, and the first thing they say is, we want to change everything, right? They go to a conference, they write a bunch of notes, and they go, this is the solution. And I go, how do you know that? How do you know what the right solution is? The biggest advantage that we have as true independent self-funded plans is that we have access to our own what? Data. You cheated, you looked at the slide. You have access to the data. The data tells you the story. My favorite is when you'll have a broker come in who represents a 5,000 life union plan that's on Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas, and they're like, we're gonna switch the whole thing to RBP. I'm like, huh? When? In 3 months? It's not reasonable. It's not thinking. It's look at the data. People ask me all the time, why do you use Blue Cross Blue Shield Network? My plan, my employee's plan, is self-funded with an independent TPA that has access to Blue Cross Blue Shield. And they'll go, why? Why don't you do RBP on your own plan for all the claims? And I go, because my data tells me I'd be an idiot if I did that. They go, what do you mean? I'm like, in Massachusetts, our rates are so tight. I think the doctors, especially primary care physicians in my state, get paid too little. The average reimbursement on Blue Cross Blue Shield for a physician, not facility, is equivalent to 120% of Medicare. That's what you're getting from Blue Cross. So why would I get rid of that and replace it with a reference-based pricing plan paying everyone at Medicare plus 120? No reason. It doesn't make sense. So you look at the data, and that data will tell you exactly what you need to do. Oh, you got 5 people on dialysis, carve that out. Your out-of-network exposure is too high, carve that out. Look at those options first. Figure out where the real pain is, and then go from there. Then, once you have your idea of what you want that plan to look like, the most important piece is to go, how do we share that information with the public? How do we share that information with our employees? How do we share it with the members and the families who are using their own money to pay, especially on those high deductible plans, a big chunk of those claims up front? Fat Joe, who knows what Fat Joe's been doing? In this room, I hope there's a lot of hands up. Hands up, Fat Joe. Okay, I know Dave Chase, and you've done a bunch of great spotlights on what Fat Joe's been doing. For the rest of you, you're probably like, who's Fat Joe? If you don't know who Fat Joe is, raise your hand. If you don't know who he is, okay. Fat Joe right now is doing more for healthcare price transparency than any other person in the country. This is not an April Fool's joke. Fat Joe is doing more right now for healthcare transparency than any other person in this country, and so is Busta Rhymes. You're like, who is this? What is this guy talking about? It's true. Fat Joe goes in front of Congress. Why? Who does he represent? Fat Joe, by the way, sang that song, does that rap song that goes, lean back, lean back. You guys know that song? That's Fat Joe, okay? So, why am I saying this? Who are the highest percentage of individuals who are balanced billed, credit ruined, by hospital billing practices as an example, by vendors? New York Times just did a big article. Read the New York Times article about vendors that are charging massive fees to give quote unquote discounts on out-of-network claims, etc. What is he doing? The biggest group of people that have the biggest issues when it comes to balanced billing, not being able to have a follow-up appointment, are black and brown individuals. That's who he's representing. That's why he's going to Washington, meeting with Biden, meeting with Jill Biden, meeting with everybody possible to get that message across. But I love to tell Fat Joe, and I did tell Fat Joe, that he's missing something. He's missing something big. Anybody want to tell me what he's missing? What's Fat Joe not talking about? Anybody? Nobody? You guys are that tired, huh? It's a long day. I'm sorry. I know I'm all amped up. I did a double espresso shot at the coffee shop right before this. I actually did. I probably shouldn't have done that. But anyways, like I don't need that. I don't even know why. But the point I'm trying to make is, what is he missing? Quality. There's no mention of quality at all. Now I know there's people in this room that say, Adam, how do you measure quality? Tell me how you measure quality for a toaster oven. How do you measure quality for a pair of socks? How do you measure quality for the golf balls that you bought, sir? How do you measure quality there? So I can measure quality for a white t-shirt from Hanes on Amazon, but oh no, how dare you put quality metrics on delivering a baby, on this a shoulder surgery, a knee replacement surgery. How dare you do that? You guys know why there's no quality metrics anywhere, real quality metrics anywhere when it comes to networks? Because their contracts specifically state there's no what? Steerage. You can't steer people to one doctor over another. Imagine that. Imagine you want to buy a microwave. You go to Best Buy, and the Best Buy salesperson says, you go, well, you know, what are people saying about these microwaves? Ma'am, I can't tell you. I can just tell you that's the brand. And with Fat Joe's help now, we at least saw the price. But oh no, I can't tell you that 25 people have returned that one because I can't steer you to any one of these microwaves. And you wonder why we got a problem when it comes to healthcare in this country? Everything else in this country is competition, except what? This. There's no competition. You guys know, like for example, if you want to buy a pair of golf clubs, who's a golfer? Let me see, golfer. Golfer? Yes, good. I didn't think so. Was I right? Thank you, sir. Maybe it was the vest. I don't know what it was, but it was something about your outfit that just made me not think golfer. This guy, I looked at him like, oh yeah, he's by the 9th, he's done. He's not even finishing 18, this guy. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is when you buy a set of golf clubs, imagine if somebody said to you, sir, you have a special program now that we're going to pass under Trump. It's going to be everyone, every year, has to buy a brand new set of golf clubs. You have to. But your copay is only going to be $30. And hey, you can buy any golf clubs you want. Your copay, $30. Now, if we listen to Fat Joe and only focus on price transparency, only price, your copay is what, sir? 30. All right, I don't know. I'm not going to name all the brands. I'm just going to pick up people, okay? These clubs, 500, 200, 100, 1,000. Which one are you buying? Why? Because you assume that the golf clubs that cost $1,000 are obviously what? The best. So as long as you have a copay only and you're not paying the rest of the bill, why in the world would he buy a $100 golf club? I think transparency is going to turn it the other way. It's going to make our prices go up if that's the only thing we're looking at. Now, when it comes to people, obviously, that are tied to the FMMA and what Dr. Keith Smith's doing, that's very different. He's putting his pricing out there saying, challenge me. You can't. Look at the quality we have here. But he puts an emphasis on quality as well. He just doesn't say his price. Quality. That's the key. And we don't see anything about quality anywhere. And that's what we're trying to do. They did this with Payless. Folks, everyone here shop at Payless. Trust me, growing up, we'd have Payless, but the closest thing was called a place called Phia. And that's where I got all my shoes, okay? $5 a pair. Payless took their $20 shoes. They hired a couple good-looking models, dressed them in all black, and took their $20 shoes and made a fake store called Palessi. And they sold the $20 shoes for $700, and they sold out. Sold out. Google it. They did a story on it on ABC or something. Why? And they interviewed people. Why did you buy a $700 pair of shoes? And the woman said, because they're obviously high quality. So if you only look at price and don't incorporate anything else, it's not going to work for the long term in this country, I don't believe. So here's an example of what I want to share. So what you're going to notice, folks, across the country, it's a pretty simple thing, is there are vendors out there who will do one of two things. Either A, they'll say, using our solution, you will save 65% off your bill charge. That's the one. You get the other one. Using our solution, you're going to save 95% off your bill charge. They compete. Who are you hiring? That's all you know. 65% savings, 95% savings. Which one? The woman said 95%. Wrong. Now, why is that wrong? Because if you're only looking at that one thing and nothing else, you're right. If all you care about is saving as much money on every bill, a 95% discount sounds really damn good. Yeah, but your patient's gonna be balance billed. 5% balance bill charge, collection notices, can't refi the house, can't buy a car, take it to court, literally. And then you got 65. And I would say, that's too little. And they could argue, well, sir, there is no balance bills. There is no collection. There is no noise. You're right, because why would anyone appeal? You're paying too much, so why would anyone appeal? So you see the problem that we have in our industry? There's a sweet spot somewhere in there that balances the noise, caring about your families, but also caring about the overall health of the entire plan itself. What is that? What is it? What is that little spot? For every company, for every employer, all across the country, it's different. And the data will tell you what that sweet spot should be. And that's the key. So when I have people say, and I literally see flyers, 80%, 30%, 70%, I'm like, that's someone I don't want to work with. Because if it's all they care about, then obviously it's focused on what? EBITDA, most profit you can make, short period of time, and they know that it's going to be potentially a year, 6 months, 9 months, a year before anyone gets balance bills, anyone goes to collection, anyone goes to court. And it goes right back to what Fat Joe said. When those people are taken to court, guess what happens 99% of the time? When they go to court, default. Default judgment 99% of the time to the billing company and their law firm. Because people don't show up. How could they show up? What tools do they have to show up with? These are the kind of tools that people need access to. So you have any type of claim, any procedure code, any diagnosis code, doesn't matter. And you take a look at a claim and you go, we got its bill, $52,000, which is 4 times the Medicare rate, in Columbus, Ohio. Now, I don't expect you to read all this, but on the bottom, based on the government's own definition of the metropolitan area, these are every single facility in the Columbus, Ohio area on the bottom. In the middle are the quality. Where'd you get the quality numbers? Folks, you get them from peer reviews. You get them from online. You can buy this. You get it from U.S. News and World Report. You can get it from Medicare. You can get it from Medicaid. There are plenty of free options out there as well in regards to not quality of a hospital, quality of that particular hospital for that particular procedure, that particular surgery, that particular whatever it is. Why is that important? It's like saying to me, oh, he's a great lawyer. You like that accent? I don't know how to say lawyer. I sound like Jay Kemp just there. I say lawyer, right? So am I a great lawyer? Could I represent you? I don't want to point at anybody because I don't want any bad luck. In a divorce? Could I represent you in your car accident? Could I represent you in your immigration case? No, but I can write you a plan, doc. I have no idea about those other types of law. I remember when I first became a lawyer, all my friends would literally call me if they got pulled over by a cop. I get a text. I'm like, dude, I don't know anything about drinking and driving. So one thing I do know is why don't you put that bottle down while the guy's walking over to the car? But the reality is I am an ERISA attorney focused on self-funded health benefits. So you're telling me, oh, that hospital's the best. At what? My mother was a nurse's aide, not a nurse, aide, at an inner city Boston hospital night shift. You know what she did all night? Take off bloodied sheets and put new sheets down. All night, every night. Gunshot wound, gunshot wound. If I had a gunshot wound, I would go to Cardi Hospital. Why? Because they do 50 on a Friday night. Seriously, that's what they did. But if I needed to have a knee replacement surgery, that's probably not the place I'd go. This tells you that. Gives you acuity. How complicated is the procedure? My favorite is when I talk to a vendor, and I go up to vendors all the time, and I go, so you're telling me you pay the claim the exact same way, and your resolution in your mind is the exact same way to pay a facility or a surgeon, let's say, 2 times Medicare. Regardless if the kid that had the surgery was 25 years old and in perfectly good health other than that, or an 80-year-old obese person. That's the same thing? No. It's the same reason why one person's divorced, simple thing, no big deal, neither one owns anything, versus if I got divorced. Let's pray that doesn't happen. But the point I'm trying to make is there's very different approaches to that. And this kind of information is the key. And what's also the key is sharing this information with the families. I require mandatory workshops at my organization twice a year. Everybody here, if you're an administrator, you require training on your systems. You require HIPAA training, compliance training. If you're a broker, you have certain credits you got to do. You have to go to certain sessions to build up your knowledge. You know all this stuff, but what do the families know? What do the members know? You think the member knows everything that you guys know when you come to conferences, you read up on this stuff? They know nothing. Yet why do you only spend 1 hour on an enrollment meeting with the employees telling them they have an option of bronze, silver, and gold? That's it. Without telling them any information. Are you aware that you're actually better off going to urgent care paying cash on your plan because of your high deductible? You'll be paying that money anyways out of pocket, and you'll actually get a better price if you just pay out of your pocket. Huh? Didn't know that. So many things. So require it. Do it. Videotape it so they can show it to family members if they so choose. Here's examples. We literally tell people, these are independent labs. These are independent MRI facilities, Shields. It's an independent. And then we show them, not any individual one person, but we tell them, look, $500 at Shields, $3,000 at Social Hospital. If you're paying on a $5,000 deductible plan, don't you think that's something you'd like to know? Nobody does it. I have been up here year after year. Nobody does it. Why? It's work. It's an extra step. But you know what? When you have an employee who's busting their ass 80 hours a week, working overtime, getting things done, and they ask you for a $5,000 raise, you tell them it's not in the budget. Yet that same employee could go out and get a $100,000 surgery performed at a place where she could have got it done for $25,000. You're paying that money out of the same expense, but you won't give her a $5,000 raise. We look at healthcare so different for some unknown reason in this country. It's the only area in our entire economy where prices on actual services and items goes up, not down with technology. It's insane. Here's one. How about telling people what's not independent urgent care? On the bottom, those 3 urgent cares do not bill as urgent care. They bill as actual emergency rooms. So a person might think they're doing a good thing by going to Mass General's urgent care, but the bill's still $4,000. Who's telling the employees this, the families this? Nobody. And the reason you're not telling them is because you're not looking at the data, which I brought up 8 slides or 9 slides ago. Next, same thing here with the diapers and wipes. This is true. I wrote the numbers down because I wanted to go to my office and get them. So in our diapers and wipes program, we don't make people go to certain hospitals, but every year based on that the chart that I showed you, we use our algorithms and our software and tell people, All 25 of these hospitals are in-network. All of them. In our opinion, these three, again, balancing it out, at the highest quality, at the lowest price point. If you choose to go, free diapers and wipes for a year. That's $3,600 per year for every person that has a baby. This is as of today. We've had 86 kids born at my company while that person was working there. 3 of them, 3 sets of twins, okay? 4 preemies out of the 86. 86 kids were born. 86 kids were at one of the 3 hospitals that we chose. There were mothers telling their gynecologist, I am not having the baby here, I want the baby there. And we saved, the entire program has cost us $309,600, and we have saved $2.2 million by enacting this. Because the members, the mothers, the families have the same copay deductible whether they go to one of the 22 that we don't say or one of the 3 that we do. It gives them something. They're like, wow, I get free diapers. And then there's always that person in the back. How do you get the diapers to them? It's called Amazon, dude. You just go on Amazon, and if you got Prime, you hook it up, and it just shows up at the house. It's not that hard. Why would the Boston Globe do a cover story on this? How is this innovative? Honestly, I'm going to give money to someone if they do a thing a certain way. Wow, innovation, front page story. It doesn't make any sense. So the point is, same thing with DPC. Listen, I don't care what the excuse is. There is no employer in this country that should not have a DPC option for their employees and those family members. None. I don't care who's up on stage, what reason you got, none. It is by far, and I do not own a DPC practice. They all pay me off. So I get paid big money to say what I'm going to say. It's a joke. Thought someone would laugh. No one laughed at that one. That didn't work. We have DPC. I have DPC on my family, my kids, my wife, myself, my aunt, my uncle, my mother, my stepdad. We all got DPC. Why? It's the best. There's nothing close. You want to show your employees that you give a crap about them? Do DPC. Nobody will have, if you're not sure, why don't you just go in and get an appointment and check it out yourself? It's unbelievable to me when I still hear, we pay for the DPC for every one of our employees and their families we pay for it, all of it. Why? Because even before this study came out from Milbank, we knew that we were noticing savings in our overall expenses. Why? Because the DPC docs that we work with know our plan. They care, like our employees do. If my employee says, I need a gel, and the doctor knows the gel is only available as a brand, he'll say to them, there is also a cream. The cream is just as effective. It's generic, but it's not a gel. You asked for the gel. If you went to a regular PCP, you go, I want a gel, guess what they're going to give you? The branded gel. That's what you asked for. Or they're going to tell you what? Go get the MRI upstairs. Why would they tell you to get the MRI upstairs? Because it's right there. And whether or not they get a bonus, I don't even care. I don't even know any of that stuff. All I know is they're saying it's really convenient. Take the elevator up one story and get your MRI. Who said to their own doctor, Doc, can I just go to Shields down the street? It's $450. It's the same MRI machine. And won't they just email you the records? Yeah. Who does that? Nobody. Nobody. They don't. You go home after this weekend and put some of these ideas in place. Just the idea. Because people, when you tell them that, they're like, OMG. They can't believe it. And they can make their own decision if they still want to get the MRI there because that's their deductible. That's their money. It's going to cost the plan to be more expensive. And that's fine. But what we know is by having DPC, there's no waiting room. The New York Times just did an article, not New York Times, the Boston Globe just did an article about how in Massachusetts, the average wait time to get an appointment with your primary care physician is 20 days. 20. Nowhere did it say in an article, here's other alternatives, other options. And people automatically, here's another problem DPC has, folks. You are being confused with MD-VIP. You're being confused with concierge medicine. People still look at DPC as this expensive thing only for rich people. It's the opposite. Push that message. So, I want to shift real fast in the 2 minutes I got as it relates to AI. AI is here. AI is moving fast. In this industry, it's moving faster than I could ever imagine. There are innovations out there right now that did not exist even a year ago. But there are also problems with it. Some of the problems you have to look at are, where is it taking the information from? Every single thing we do in our company now involves AI. Every service, every software, everything. Why? It takes us something that would take us 12 hours and it gets done in 2 minutes. But then you have a manual review of the work. But you have to be careful. Why? Because if you only look at AI and go, take the information from anywhere, I would ask all of you to do ChatGPT on yourselves. Do it on yourself. And go, ChatGPT, I want an introduction as if I was going to be a keynote speaker at a conference that someone could read about me. So I did it. You have no idea. There were 3 things on there that said I won an award for Entrepreneur of the Year. I got some other award from an industry conference I'd never heard of, and a 3rd award I definitely never heard of. 3 awards that I got that I never received, never even heard of. And if you actually Google my name, for anybody here that, has a good faith in, whatever, if you believe in God, you might not want to do it. Like if you're, very valued from that standpoint. But Google my name, Adam Russo, and see what you find. Don't click video. If you look up Adam Russo, you're going to see a lot of stuff about Adam Russo. That ain't me. Definitely not me. But it's there. Same name, looks like me, same color hair, same age. Put Adam V. Russo, and you get a whole different story when it comes to ChatGPT than you'll see with Adam Russo without the V on ChatGPT. Do it. That's the scary part, is what information is it taking in. We incorporate it to take all the knowledge, all the stuff that's in all of our attorneys' brains, and put it in our database and use it there. And this is what had happened. We've taken every process that's manual and said, how do we first shrink that manual process and then use the AI technology out there to have our computers do the work that nobody wants to do in the first place. Same thing when it comes to identifying car accidents. Anyone that still receives a letter from a company that says, please tell me how you hurt your arm, how you broke your leg, if it was a car accident, you don't need to do that. All that information is available online. Same thing with all the knowledge that anyone would want to have when it comes to compliance and legal, etc. These are the kinds of things that we've created just using AI technology. Really simple things. Videos, caricatures, etc. This is what you do. The last thing I want to bring up really fast is this. This is the example of where our government messes up, where we try to have a good idea and it goes the wrong way, or at least so far it's gone the wrong way. And it's not because the government officials weren't thinking. They just didn't bring the right individuals in the room when it came to procedure, process. The thought was good, the process has not worked. So before the NSA, No Surprises Act, if you had an out-of-network claim, you had to work it out. Patients getting balance bills, a lot of noise, all the stuff I talked about earlier. So they come up with this thing called the NSA, and it's supposed to do what? Make sure that patients have no balance bills, don't have noise in those specific categories where the NSA applies, and it will lower the overall cost. In the first 6 months of the year 2023, the average decision by the arbitrators in the NSA decision-making process is 370% of Medicare. It was lower before the NSA. And it's higher now. Why? I'm going to tell you why. And you look at mine on the bottom. What ours has been 230. And it's not because we have better technology or we got better this. No. It's about understanding compliance and understanding technology, understanding process, what you got to do. Folks, 50% of the claims that are submitted to the NSA for arbitration are not eligible for NSA. They shouldn't even be there. They're holding up the system, they're backlogging it. And then claims that actually should be NSA claims are improperly being appealed as if it was a regular ERISA claim that's being appealed. That's one problem. Second problem is addresses. Notice, if a hospital or any kind of doctor or surgeon, whatever it is, has a claim, and they send it to a P.O. box at Kempton, that maybe Kempton hasn't opened that P.O. box in 5 years. They're on notice. So the biggest problem with all of this stuff going to the NSA has been defaults. No different than the defaults of people that don't show up in court. The biggest issue now is defaults when it comes to this. You don't show up to the arbitration, baseball-style arbitration, by the way, guess what happens? You lose. That's why. So it's not only about technology, it's about, all right, how do we identify these claims? How do we make sure that it's compliant? How do we make sure that we're notified? How do we make sure we have the right process in place? That's what we do, is fix that problem. The problem is no one's doing anything, and our situation now is worse than it was before. I mean, you can see all the differences here with emergency care, imaging. I mean, you're paying way more than in-network rates and even more than what out-of-network rates were prior to the NSA. My time is done. I want to thank everyone for being here. To everyone at FMMA, thank you for bringing me back again. I don't know why you guys keep doing it, but I hope you continue to, because I truly believe, guys, you know that. I truly believe in this organization. I truly believe that it's got a lot of momentum. But what scares me, folks, is please don't revert back to what you used to do. Don't revert back to what was easy, the easy button, because there's going to be a lot of pressure for you to do that. To change what our industry does is not easy. It's hard work, and I'm glad to be part of that work, and I'm glad that FMMA has taken the reins and lead of the effort. Thank you very much. Have a great day.